U.s Congress deliberating on abolishment of Sharia law in Nigeria. Please subscribe, like and share this. Let's proceed to the rest of the news. United States lawmakers were urged on Tuesday to pressure the Nigerian government to abolish Sharia law in northern states where they has been adopted and disband the religious enforcement Hizbah commissions, with experts warning that these laws and groups are fueling systematic anti-Christian persecution. During a joint House briefing in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's October directive and designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, Counsel on Foreign Relations Senior Fellow Dr. Ebenezer Obadare testified that the primary drivers of violence, Boko Haram, Islamic State West Africa Province, ISWAP, and radicalized Fulani militants, exploit Sharia frameworks and Hizbah officials to impose extremist ideology, enforce forced conversions, and operate with near-total impunity. Obadare laid out a strategy for dealing with the violence and killings. A statement by the House Appropriations Committee quoted him as saying, the policy goal should be twofold. First, work with the Nigerian military to neutralize Boko Haram. Second, the United States should put pressure on President Tinubu to 1. Make Sharia law unconstitutional in the 12 northern states where they has been adopted since 2000 and 2. Disband the various Hizbah groups across northern states seeking to enforce and impose Islamic law on all citizens regardless of their religious identity. In laying out his strategy, Obadare acknowledged efforts by the federal government in response to pressure from the United States. As recent events have shown, the Nigerian authorities are not impervious to incentives, he said. Since the country's country of particular concern, CPC, designation and President Trump's threat of unilateral military action against Boko Haram, President Tinubu has made several moves, including ordering airstrikes against Boko Haram targets, the recruitment of an additional 30,000 policemen, and, most recently, declaring a national security emergency in the country. He, however, expects a lot more to be done, saying, Washington must keep up the pressure. The bipartisan session, led by Appropriations Vice Chair Mario Diaz-Balart, Republican Florida, and involving the House Foreign Affairs Committee, had repeated accusations that the Nigerian government is complicit in what lawmakers called religious cleansing across the North and Middle Belt. Witnesses cited the November 22 abduction of children and teachers from St. Mary's Catholic School in Popiri, Niger State, what they described as ongoing blasphemy law imprisonments, and mass killings, rejecting claims that the violence stems solely from resource disputes. Obadare emphasized the roots of the crisis, saying, the deadliest and most serious threat confronting the Nigerian state today is jihadist terror, perpetrated by the Islamist group Boko Haram. Boko Haram translates to, Western education is forbidden. Boko Haram's barbarous and implacable campaign to overthrow the Nigerian state and establish an Islamic caliphate in its stead is the source of Nigeria's present discontents. Every proposal to solve the Nigerian crisis that does not take seriously the need to radically degrade and ultimately eliminate Boko Haram as a fighting force is a non-starter. Trump first designated Nigeria as a CPC in 2020, but it was removed from the list by his successor, President Joe Biden. However, the U.S. President, on October 31, redesignated Nigeria as a CPC over religious freedom violations. He thereafter threatened military action in Nigeria if the federal government did not address the challenge. Trump said the U.S. may halt aid and assistance to Nigeria if nothing is done to stop the alleged Christian persecution. Tuesday's briefing is not the first of such by the U.S. Congress. The U.S. House of Representatives held a hearing on Trump's redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern on November 20. It featured two panels of witnesses, including senior U.S. State Department officials and Nigerian religious leaders.